All right, everybody, welcome. And we're going to start now. I think there's more people joining in, but I don't want to hold everybody else up. And we're going to go ahead and start um, with our presentation. So again, welcome. My name is Alessandra. I'm a housing counselor at Habitat for Humanity East Bay, Silicon Valley. And today we're going to be talking about saving strategies. Now, another thing I would like to let you know is that my colleague Ramel is also attending. He's kind of today he's helping me out. I'll be presenting and he's going to be helping me out upload some handouts. So he's going to wait a little bit to make sure that enough people have a chance to join in, but then he'll start uploading them on the chat box. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you have a chat box feature. And when you click on that, it opens. And there you can find the handouts when he uploads them. You can also write in questions. So please use this feature throughout the presentation. Because at the end I will read the answers, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end of the presentation. I'll answer the questions on the chat box. Now, if you are unable to see the handouts, please, or you're unable to download them, you can email us and we'd be happy to send them to you. The very last slide that we have has our contact information. And so when we get to that point, I'll leave that up so you can take that down just in case you cannot see them or download them. Now, during the presentation, we'll also have 3 poll questions. The answers you give are anonymous, but we greatly appreciate it if you take the time to participate. All right, without further ado, let's go to the next slide. Sorry about that. I hope you didn't hear my phone ring. We have a new phone system and I don't know how to mute it. I hope that doesn't happen anymore. All right, so Habitat, our programs. Habitat offers 3 main programs. We offer an affordable homeownership program, and we build homes and renovate existing homes. And then we sell them at an affordable mortgage to qualified families with limited and moderate incomes. We also offer housing counseling services. Our housing counseling program is certified by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. And through our one-on-one counseling, we provide help to people who want to learn strategies for budgeting income and expenses, savings, managing debt, credit repair, maybe credit building or improving the credit score. And then for those people whose goal is homeownership, we can also help them prepare to reach that goal. And we offer financial education workshops in the 8-hour first-time homebuyer class. Now, our third program is our home preservation program, and through this program, we provide grants and low-interest loans for low-income homeowners throughout our service area for critical home repair. And you can, of course, learn more about all these programs by visiting our website. All right, we are at our first poll. So I'm going to launch this and I'd like to know we'd like to know where everybody is joining us from. So let me launch this now. If you can please go ahead and answer, just click the county that you are calling us from. All right, we have about 44% of people answered. Thank you. Wow, you guys are fast. Thank you. I'm almost there. Love to get to 100%. All right. Thank you. All right, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results so you can see. So it looks like 50% of us are calling from Alameda County, 38% Santa Clara County, and 13% other. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us wherever you're joining us from. Okay, so today we're going to be covering the importance of savings. We're going to go over some types of savings accounts. We're also going to talk about compound interest and what does it mean and how does it work. We're going to talk about establishing a savings plan and some saving strategies, some ideas for saving, for ways to save. So, the importance of saving. Savings provides financial security by allowing you to plan for the future and preventing you from getting into debt. Now, ask yourself, if you were hit with an unexpected expense and needed to come up with $400 right away, right now, would you be able to do that? Now, according to a report from the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans don't have enough cash on hand to cover a $400 emergency expense. Now, that means that 4 in 10 don't have enough in savings and would have to resort to borrowing money. Now, savings provides financial security and relieves stress. Should you have an emergency or the unexpected occur, like a major car repair, the loss of a job, or a medical emergency, having a saving cushion you can count on is a great peace of mind. You know you can cover that emergency and still be able to keep up with your living cost necessities, like your rent, utilities, food, and your debt obligations. And now and you can do that without having to resort to borrowing and end up getting into debt. Now, savings also allows you to set and reach financial goals. You can plan for the future when you can do that. You can start building a retirement nest egg so that you can live comfortably when you're no longer working, or save the down payment for the down payment on a home, or even take that dream trip. Now, no amount added to savings is too small. Even adding a few dollars a week can add up to a lot in the long run. For example, if you just $4 a day, if you save just $4 a day, at the end of the year, you will have saved $1,460. Now, there are three main types of savings goals you should aim to achieve. You should have at least 3 months of net income in an emergency savings. That's the minimum. Ideally, 6 to 9 months. Let's say something happens to your job and you need to look for a new one. The 3 months in net income you have saved will allow you to continue covering all your critical expenses and keep up with your debts while you look for another job. Now, long-term savings is for longer-term financial goals like paying off student loans, buying a house, or taking a trip. And retirement savings is also important. When you retire, your Social Security payment will likely not cover all of the living costs like housing, food, clothes. Your retirement savings will then give you peace of mind that you can live comfortably without worrying. So start saving as soon as possible in a retirement account to avoid missing out on years of interest earnings. And that's where compound interest steps in, and that we'll review a little bit later. Now, what does pay yourself mean? Pay yourself means that putting money into savings comes first, not last. You make it a priority. Instead of figuring out how much you can save, you decide how much per month you want to save. Now, most people do just the opposite. They pay all their bills, and if they have anything left over, then they put it into savings. What they're doing is they're spending first and leaving savings last on the list. Now, chances are that at the end of the month, all the money will have been spent and nothing or very little will be available to add to savings. Now, with the save first, spend second strategy, you build your household budget around your savings goal. As a result, you control your spending and make your money work for you rather than you working for your money. Now, following this approach also helps you put controls over wasteful spending. For example, buying a subscription you don't need, or food you end up not eating and throwing away, or buying things on impulse. And most people think that if they put money into savings first, they will not be able to keep up with their current bills. But what happens instead is that when you make savings a priority and make a dollar amount commitment, you will find a way to cover your bills. It might take having to find ways to cut expenses or increasing income. Often it requires doing a combination of both. Now here's an example of a pay yourself scenario. Pay yourself first scenario. Let's assume your monthly take-home pay is $3,000 a month. You decide you want to save 10% of that per month, which is what is generally recommended as a healthy savings goal. So you set up an automatic transfer to savings of $300 a month. Now that means that you have $2,700 left in take-home pay to cover your expenses. Now, if based on your current expense obligations and spending habits, that amount is not enough, before cutting back on that monthly savings goal, carefully review and cut or reduce all the non-necessary expenses first. Things like going out to eat, entertainment, and subscriptions you don't need. If after trimming your budget as much as possible, you find that you just cannot do that 10%, then determine how much you're realistically able to save per month. Even small amounts count and add up, just like we said a little bit earlier. The point is that you decide on an amount and then add it to your budget just as if you were paying a bill. You don't wait until the end of the month to see if something is left to save because it probably won't be there. Now, a budget is your plan of how you want to spend and save your money so you can secure your future. It helps you make smart spending choices and stay in control where your money goes and save so you can reach financial goals. Now, if you don't follow a budget, you risk not having enough to pay essential expenses like rent and resorting to borrowing money by using your credit cards to pay for expenses, which leads to getting into debt. And soon that debt can get out of control and then become unmanageable. Now, a general rule of thumb budget is the 50-30-20 budget. And this means that no more than 50% of your take-home income should go towards your need expenses. And these are expenses that are essential for your survival and protect your housing and your income. They make sure your utilities stay connected, they keep you fed and clothed. So things like rent payments, car payments, gas costs to get to work, car insurance, utility payments. Also, keep in mind that an affordable rent payment should not exceed 35% of your gross income. Of course, that's probably easier said than done in the Bay Area, but that's kind of the rule of thumb. Now, no more than 30% of your take-home income should go towards want expenses. And these are the expenses that add enjoyment to your life, but are not essential for your survival. Things like going out to eat or gym memberships, vacations, subscriptions to TV channels or music apps. Now, the remaining 20% of that, you should aim to save at least 10% of your income per month, just like I mentioned earlier. Also, to make sure you're keeping your debt obligation manageable, no more than 10% of your take-home pay should go towards paying off debt. And we're talking about credit cards and loan payments. Now, a budget is unique to you. You need to adapt it to your financial situation and goals. If your need expenses exceed 50%, maybe your rent is really high, then the want percentage is the one that must be reduced first. Debts must be kept at a minimum, and adding to savings becomes even more of a priority. Now, where should I save? Well, let's go over some kind of common savings accounts, ways where you can put your money to work for you. Now, savings accounts are different from investment accounts. In savings accounts, you're setting aside money for emergencies or for other savings goals. You want to keep your money safe, but also be able to access it quickly, and also have little or no risk. Savings accounts are federally insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, and this means that the money you deposit is protected up to $250,000 should the financial institution fail or go out of business. Now, whichever institution you choose to bank with, always make sure it is FDIC insured. Investment accounts, on the other hand, is when people buy assets like stocks or bonds or mutual funds or real estate with the expectation that that investment will make them money. They're not federally insured, and your money can lose value. So they're riskier and less safe. Also, the money may not be easily accessible because you have to sell the asset first. Now, some people don't put money in savings. They keep their cash at home for a variety of reasons. This is also known as mattress money. Now, although the money is readily accessible, it is also not protected. It could get lost or stolen. It's also harder to keep yourself from spending it when it's right there. It's okay to keep a little, but you shouldn't. This really should not be your main strategies. If you can help it. Now, financial institutions offer a variety of savings options. savings accounts can typically be linked to your checking account for overdraft protection. These accounts are a good place where you can keep money that you have to have readily available for emergencies. So it's good for an emergency account. You earn very little interest, but the money's safe and easily accessible, but not as easily accessible as mattress money, which means that you will be less likely to dip into it unnecessarily. There is also a sense of satisfaction seeing that amount increase on your statement month after month. Now, money market account is sometimes also referred to as a high yield savings account, and it's a mix between a checking and a savings account. It pays an interest that is a bit higher than a regular savings account and usually includes check writing abilities and an ATM card. Although you can only use them a limited amount of times per year, per month, it depends on the account and the financial institution. It also usually requires a higher deposit and minimum balance. This type of account is good for a long-term savings goal, like buying a house, for example. Now, CD accounts or certificate of deposits work like this. You leave your money for a set period of time, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 or 5 years. It almost always pays a higher interest rate than a regular savings account, and that's because the bank and credit unions pay extra for the right to hold a lump sum of your money for a period of months or years, which is known as the CD's term. So every CD has a different term depending on the CD that you choose. The longer you promise to keep your money in the account, the higher the interest rate you earn. But you keep in mind that you pay a penalty if you withdraw money early from that CD. So you should consider tying up money in a CD only if you already have at least the equivalent of 9 months of take-home income in emergency savings. The amount you invest in a CD should be an amount you know you can afford to not be able to touch for a long period. Now, individual retirement accounts or IRAs and 529 accounts are also good for long-term savings, but these are more focused. IRA accounts are specifically for building savings that you can use during retirement to help you cover the living cost. Now, many employers, as part of their benefits package, offer a retirement account typically known as a 401k or 403b if you work for a nonprofit. And some employers match your pre-tax contributions up to a certain amount. So if your employer offers this program, sign up. Don't miss out on this free money. That matching contribution is free money. So don't miss out on that. Now, if your employer does not offer it, you can open your own IRA account with a financial institution that offers these types of savings account. 529 savings accounts are used to cover education costs. You don't pay federal taxes on any earnings when you draw the money, as long as you use the money on qualified education costs like tuition, mandatory fees, and room and board. If you withdraw the money for any other purpose, the earnings are subject to taxes and a penalty. So you want to be careful about that. Now, an important step towards reaching financial goals is to have a crystal clear reason of what your priorities and goals are. First, you need to clearly define what your need and want expenses are. Need expenses are essential for your survival. You can't do without them. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier. They protect your housing and your income. They make sure your utilities stay connected and keep you fed and clothed. Things like, again, rent payment, car payments, gas cost, and so on. Again, your want expenses add quality to your life, but are not essential for your survival. And these are, again, things like going out to eat, gym memberships, vacations, subscriptions to TV channels, and so on. You also need to not just define your financial goals, but also understand why they are important to you. What will they allow you to achieve? For example, I want to save is a good reason, but why do you want to save? I want to pay off my credit card debt, or I want to save for a down payment on a home. These are even better reasons than just I want to save. And that's because you're connecting your inner motivations and desires of why you want to save, and it will be much easier to stay committed to your plan. As you define your financial goals, some will be short term, some midterm, and some long term. Your short term goals are goals that require less time to achieve, typically within a year. For example, paying off a credit card balance. They can also be immediate goals. For example, I will start adding $50 to savings every month. Midterm goals involve thinking a little bit further into the future, perhaps the next 1 to 3 years. And these are goals that take a little longer to achieve. For example, paying off a credit card debt, not just one credit card, but all your credit card debt. Now, long-term goals typically require more than 3 years to achieve and require longer-term planning. And these can include saving for retirement or paying off student loan debt. Now, short-term goals are important to have, and that's because it takes less time to achieve them, and they can help us stay motivated to stick with our longer-term goals. They can also help us break a longer-term goal into shorter, more easily achievable ones. For example, let's say one of your goals is building the 3-month emergency savings, and you want to do that within 18 months. Now, your net income is $3,000, which means you need to save $9,000. If that amount seems overwhelming, break it down into shorter term goals. Maybe make a commitment that every month you save a certain amount to help you reach at least maybe a month of savings within 6 months or a shorter period of time. So break it down where it doesn't feel as overwhelming. Now, setting goals, financial goals, helps you prioritize how you use your money. So it goes toward what matters to you. It can also help you measure and track your progress. Now, it's important to develop a plan because it will help you visualize how you can reach your goals. But you need to develop a SMART plan. And that means that your goals must be specific, which means it has to answer what do you want to accomplish? Why is this goal important to you? Is this something you really want? Again, goals should matter to you and they should be a priority in your life. Your goal must also be measurable. That means you need to quantify it so that you know how much you will need to reach it and can track your progress. It must be actionable, and that means what specific actions do you need to complete to achieve this goal. It must be realistic. So goals don't need to be easy, but should also not be impossible. You need to ask yourself, is this a goal I can reach based on my situation and family obligations? Lastly, they need to be time bound. So they should have a clearly defined time frame. When will you reach your goal based on what you're able to save per month? For example, let's say Mary's goal is to have a 3-month emergency savings in place within 24 months because she wants the peace of mind that if the unexpected should happen, she can continue covering her necessary living expenses and debt obligations for at least 3 months. Now that means she needs to save the equivalent of 3 months of take-home pay. She brings home $3,000 a month, so she determines that she has to save a total of $9,000. This is like what we were talking about before, the example earlier. Now she also divides 9,000 by 24 months, which is her timeline, and gets the result that she gets is $375. Now that means that she has to save $375 a month if she wants to reach her goal within that timeline. Now, if she finds that based on her current expenses, she cannot afford that $375 a month, she can review her goal. Is there anything she can do to free up more money? For example, are there spending habits she can reduce or eliminate to get as close to that amount as possible? As she goes through this process, she keeps in mind her goal and why it's important to her. And then she asks herself, does this expense keep me from reaching my goal? If cutting back on expenses is not enough or not possible, she could reconsider her timeline and maybe stretch it out a few months. Remember, the goal has to be reachable. If you set a savings goal and an emergency comes up and you have to dip into your savings to cover it, don't give up on the goal. If circumstances change, goals or priority of goals may just need to be revised and adjusted. Just don't give up on it and see what you need to do to maybe adjust it or revise it or change priorities. All right, we have another poll. So again, I want to remind you the answers are anonymous. Now the poll question is, what percentage of your take-home pay should you ideally add to savings every month? So please go ahead and choose the answer that you think best fits, and I'm going to launch it right now. There you go. So what do you think? 20%, 10%, or 50% of your take-home pay you should ideally aim to save? All right, thank you. We're at more than 50% of answers. Thank you for participating. Great. All right. Let me end the poll and I'm going to share the results. All right. Look at this. 33, 33, 33. That's pretty interesting. So 20%, 10%. Okay, so 10% is what that 50, 30, 20 kind of budget says, that ideally 10% of your net income should go towards savings. Of course, more is awesome. So I am not going to discourage you from thinking 20% or 15%. Let's say 10% at least. All right. I'm going to stop sharing the results so we can move on to the magic of compounding. All right. So compounding is interest earned on both the principal plus previously earned interest. Interest can compound daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. Now, the earlier you start saving, the more time your money has to grow by reaping the benefits of the power of compounding. Now, when you put money in savings, your interest is compounded. That means, again, that your interest earns interest. And this is how you make your money work for you over time, and your original contributions will grow exponentially. So starting early is key, because even starting a few years later can make a big difference. And the next slide will show you that. Now, the more frequently an account compounds interest, the more money you will earn. So to understand compound interest, let's first start with the concept of simple interest. You deposit money and the bank pays you interest on your deposit. So for example, let's say Susan decides to deposit on January 1st, $100 in a savings account that earns 5% in annual interest. Now that means that at the end of the year, the bank will add 5% interest to the $100 and Susan's account balance will be $105. But if Susan keeps that money in the account, at the beginning of year two, that $105 will be the starting balance. This means that on December 31st of year two, so at the end of year two, the bank will add an 5% interest to that $105 balance. And so now the balance will be $110.25. That's how much you'll have in the bank. So in year three, January 1st, Susan starts with $110.25 in her savings account, which will again earn 5% interest at the end of the year, so that at the end of year three, her savings balance will be $115.76. So that's what interest earns interest means. Now, this is the example that shows you how starting just a few years earlier, adding to savings can make a big difference through the magic of compounding. So let's look this, read this example. Mary and John started contributing $100 a month to a retirement savings account that earns 5% interest and is compounded annually. Mary is 25 years old and John is 30 years old. So Mary starts doing this at 25, John starts doing this at 30. Now, as the graph shows, At age 60, Mary will have substantially more in retirement savings than John. She will have almost $109,000 in savings, whereas John will have about $80,200. Now, over the years, Mary will have contributed only $6,000 more than John by starting early, but because of the compound interest effect, she will have almost $30,000 more in her retirement account than John by age 60. Now, if they were contributing to an employer matching savings retirement account, their savings would, of course, be a lot higher because they would be getting that free money on top of it. You can see how contributing just $100 a month adds up to a lot of savings in the long run. And that's just $25 a week or $3.57 a day. Now, if Mary and John found even just an extra $100 a month by trimming expenses, they would be able to double their contribution to their retirement savings accounts and build an even larger nest egg. Now, as you work towards establishing a savings plan, first determine if there are any factors that may impact your savings ability. Are your income and expenses balanced? Do you have spending habits that are standing in the way of your savings goal? And then define your savings priorities. Do you already have an emergency fund set up? If the answer is no, that should be your first savings goal. Once you have identified your savings goal, determine which are the most pressing and what order of importance they are. Then determine which are short, mid, or long term. And remember to include short-term goals you can achieve in 1 year or less. As you accomplish them, they can help you stay motivated with staying on track with your longer-term goals. And now clarify what specific actions you need to take to reach your goals. What is your action plan? For example, if you want to build that 3-month emergency savings within 1 year, what will you do now? For example, my goal is to be able to save 10% of my net income. This month, I will track all my expenses carefully by category to identify which I can reduce or cut to get as close to that as possible. What will you do next month? I will start adding 10% of my net income to savings each month. I will also look for items I no longer use to sell and add the proceeds to savings. What will you do throughout the year? I will continue tracking my expenses to make sure I don't have any wasteful spending and will add my tax refund to savings. What will you do by the end of the year? I will have 3 months of net income in my savings account. And then make sure you set up an automatic transfer to savings. Determine that savings goal and set it up so that it goes into your savings at the beginning of the month before you pay your bills and expenses. If you rely on remembering to add it yourself, chances are you're going to spend it instead. Now, this shows you how small spending regular habits, even though they may be small expenses that we think don't impact our finances much, add up and they do have an impact. Now, the first step is identifying which habits we have and then calculate how much they're costing us per year. So let's say you track your expenses and learn that you spend $10 a week on buying snacks. You run the total and find that it's costing you $520 a year. So you decide to stop buying snacks and bring in snacks from home so you can save that $520 a year, which is $43 a month. You also realize that you're spending $3 4 times a week on a latte at the local coffee shop. You add it up, and this regular habit is costing you $625 a year. So you decide to invest in an insulated mug and brew coffee at home, which you can purchase in bulk for an average of 20 cents per cup. You're now saving $582 per year or more than $48 per month. And then you think eating fast food 2 times a week doesn't add up to much because you calculate, because it's costing you on average $8 each time, but you calculate this expense over time and find that it's costing you $832 a year. So you decide to cut back on the times you go out for fast food to once a week instead of twice. And now you're saving $416 a year, almost $35 a month. So you can see how by making these small adjustments, you are now able to save an extra $126 a month, which adds up to $1,518 a year. And that's a chunk of money. This is a great way to cut back, continue, not do away with an activity that we really enjoy, but finding less expensive ways of doing it. We don't want to eliminate all the things we enjoy from our life. It is but about priorities, of course, but if we don't have some enjoyment in our lives, it just would not be sustainable in the long run, because there's a big chance that you might end up giving up altogether and then revert to old habits. So the step down spending method is what can help you retain some of those activities and continue enjoying them, but finding cheaper ways to enjoy them. So for example, let's say going out to eat with your friends is very important to you. Now you have to ask yourself, is the dinner the important part or being with your friends? Now your answer is likely being with your friends. So you find that on average, you spend $50 each time you go out for dinner and you go out with your friends once a week. So you run the total and you find that it's costing you $2,600 per year, or $217 per month. So you talk with your friends and propose to start doing lunch dates instead. Lunch menus are much cheaper and it'll save you $25 each time you go out. And that's a total savings of $1,300 a year, or $108 per month. Or maybe you propose to meet at your house for dinner and order pizza. By sharing the cost of the pizza with your friends, you save an additional $10, and that's a total savings of $1,820 a year, or $151 per month. Or maybe you suggest a potluck. And so by each contributing a dish, your cost is likely now around $10, which means you're now spending $40 less. And that's a saving of $2,080 a year, or $173 a month. So what you're doing is at each step you're enjoying yourself, but you're finding less expensive ways to do it. And you're freeing up funds that can go into savings. Another way to step it down is to reduce the times per week or per month you enjoy that activity. So maybe you decide you still really want to go out to dinner, but decide that you're going to meet your friends every other week instead of every week. So make it a challenge. When you go home today, or maybe you're already at home, think of an activity you can cut back on, and then use the step down method. One of the handouts actually is a blank step down spending handout, and you can use that. And do this as a family. You're not alone in this. Involve the children to help you find ways to save. They will not only have fun helping you, but they will also learn invaluable lesson about the importance of saving. So you're teaching them a great lesson. Here's some other saving strategies. Save windfall money. That is money you don't receive on a regular basis, like a tax refund, a cash rebate, or a cash gifts for birthdays, holidays. Find ways to lower monthly payments. For example, shop for cheaper auto insurance or eliminate services you don't need on your cell phone or cable plans. If you're paying for services like Netflix, eliminate cable. Use apps to help you save and compare prices. There are apps that help you reach savings goals. For example, by helping you set a savings rule, like rounding off expenses to the nearest dollars. Many banks and credit unions also offer this. There's an app, I think it's called Q app, that lets you set up automatic transfer to savings every Sunday for 1 year. For example, the first Sunday you add $1, on the second Sunday you add $2, third Sunday $3, and so forth. And you do this for 52 weeks, and at the end of the year, you should have saved around $1,300. And delay purchases. We're all vulnerable to impulse buying, marketing, and sales tactics. For example, only today is everything is 40% off. If it's not a critical expense, and definitely if it's not an expense you were planning, give yourself at least 24 hours to rethink the purchase. Time to think whether you really should spend your hard-earned dollars on that impulse purchase. Again, set a savings rule to live by to help you achieve your goal, and write it down. Keep it where you can see it as a reminder. For example, I will save $10 a week or $100 a month, or I will save 10% of my net income. Save loose change. It adds up. Or take any $5 bill you have in your wallet at the end of the day. And then at the end of the month, you deposit the total cash you saved into your savings account. You can also have a thrifty week. If you have a regular spending habit, stop that activity for 1 week, and the money you would have spent goes to savings. To help you stay on track with not spending too much on one, set aside cash. Use the envelope system. It helps you stay on track and not spend more than you planned. For example, you decide that you're going out to eat budget is $100 per month. You take that amount out in cash, you put it in an envelope, and then when the cash is gone, that activity stops for that month. And then, of course, use the step down spending method. All right. Well, we are at the end of our presentation. So I want to launch one last poll. This is a survey. And what, we really hope you found the information enjoyable and informative. So your anonymous feedback is very, very important to us. If you can take a moment to participate, we greatly appreciate it. This poll has two separate questions. Question one asks what your level of understanding of this topic was before attending this webinar. And then the answers are number 1 through 5, with 1 equaling you had very little understanding and 5 you had a good understanding. Question 2 asks what your level of understanding is now after attending this webinar. And the answer are again number 1 through 5, 1 meaning that you learned very little, 5 meaning that you learned a lot, and we hope that you learned a lot. So I'm going to launch this poll, and then once we are done with this, then we're going to start the Q&A session too real soon after this. All right, let me launch. All right. All right, please go ahead, and remember it's a 2-part question. All right, we have about 54% people voted. Thank you so much for voting. This we do really look at this, and this helps us improve our program. All right. Thank you so much for participating. We really appreciate it. All right, so let's go to the slide now with our contact information. So again, if you cannot see or download the handouts in the chat box, please email us. We'll be happy to send them to you, email them to you. We also record our presentations and we upload them on our website. So in case you would like to listen to this one again, or any presentation you might have missed, or if you know anyone who might benefit from this presentation, please help us spread the word. Now, if you would like to meet with a HUD certified housing counselor, you can find a list on the HUD website. Housing counselors give you individualized guidance to help you gain the practical knowledge and skills needed to repair, build or improve credit, manage debt, create a budget, build savings, and it's free. Counseling services are free. So as mentioned earlier, we are a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. So if you would like to meet with one of our counselors, you can contact us directly. You can also find housing counseling agencies that are HUD approved at the HUD.gov website. As far as we're concerned, right now we're not scheduling any in-person appointments. We're only doing phone and video appointments. But when we are ready to resume in-person appointments, we would hold them at our office. So we recommend that you connect with the counselor that's closer to you. But this is our contact information. So I'm in the Milpitas office, and then Romel is in the Oakland office, and these are phone numbers and emails. So please feel free to reach out. And now, if you can stay for the Q&A, if you cannot stay for the Q&A and you need to leave, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it. And now I will go to the chat box to see, find out about questions. All right. Luis, oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that the information was informative and useful. Thank you, Martha, as well. It looks like Marta is asking about if we can find the information, if we can email the information. So a lot of the key things are covered on our handouts. And like I said, we're going to be uploading this recorded version on our website. And so you'll be able to see it. Give it a couple of weeks because we need to send it to marketing. Marketing has to have time to upload it, but we do upload them. Um, you are welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much for all the thanks. Are there other tax savings options other than the 529? I'm assuming you are referring to student loan savings. As far as I know, that's the only account that is available. I think I don't know if there's other. This is the main one. They're state sponsored. Ramel, if you know of any other ones, please feel free to chime in. I think I can. Um, but Ramal, do you know if there's any other ones?
Okay, I don't know of any others for educational savings, but as far as tax savings options and savings, you could look at the IRA or the 401k if it's just tax savings that he's looking at.
Yeah. So, and of course, IRA specifically for retirement accounts.
For retirement, right? Both of
Yeah.
those are retirement
Yeah.
or products, I should say.
Yeah. Thank you, Ramal.
Sure.
All right. I wanted to make sure I wasn't like aware of some other account that might be tied to education savings. Any other questions? I don't see any other questions on the chat box. I can also try, let me see. It's not a huge group, so I'm gonna allow you, okay. So if somebody would like to unmute themselves and ask, some people don't like to write on the chat box, or so if you would like to ask a question out loud, you're able to unmute yourself.
It looks like Martha just typed in another question. What is the percentage we should be saving per month?
Oh. All right, you should be saving 10%. That ideally you use rule of thumb is 10% of your take-home pay, a monthly take-home pay. So if your take-home pay is $3,000, that means the money that you put in your pocket, then you should put $300 in your savings per month.
Got it.
But
Thank you.
hello?
I said thank you. I was
Oh.
curious because you mentioned the percentage. It was at, I think, 10, 15, and then 20. And I was like, well, at the end, I didn't hear what was the correct answer. So thank you for answering my question.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, yeah. It's temperate. More is better, of course, but ideally
I'm
10.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Martha. Anybody else would like to maybe unmute themselves and ask the question without having to write it down? No? All right. Well, then if there's no further questions, you know, I'll give you all back your late afternoon, evening. I'm, you know, please feel free, maybe take a screenshot if you can of of this last slide. And of course, if you visit our website at habitatebsv.org, you can get all the information about all our services or programs, including homeownership, including housing counseling and home preservation. So please visit our website. And we have a managing expenses in tight months scheduled 2 different dates on the 25th and the 27th, I believe. Later this month, they're up on our website. We do host webinars every month, typically a couple of different topics. So please check our website because we're going to be hosting a lot more. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for participating and for joining us. And I wish you all a great evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.